Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first customer. My name's Jay Agner. Today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Jessica Corrado of Corrado Communications. Hello, Jessica.
Hi, Jay.
Thank you for joining me. Jessica and I worked together at a little mom and pop shop years ago. Next Gen Healthcare is a massive healthcare company. You were in marketing department back then, right?
I was.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your background. I know you're a Jersey girl. I don't think you made it far from Jersey. I think you're still in Jersey. Tell me the story.
I've gone and come back as us Central New Jerseyers too. Yes.
Hmm.
So I was born and raised in Central New Jersey. That could be a fight in and of itself, whether or not Central Jersey is a thing, but I'll leave that there. My mom and dad are actually still in the house that I grew up in while they continue their decade-long debate of where they should retire to. I'm the youngest of three. I have two older brothers who are cool, kind, smart people. I ventured out of New Jersey to the University of Rhode Island, where I earned two bachelor's degrees, one in public relations and the other in writing and rhetoric.
What is the rhetoric part of that? I did my homework and I was like, what is the rhetoric part of that?
Um, the word rhetoric can mean different things to different people. In politics, it often means spin. In marketing and communications, I like to say that it means finesse.
Okay, I like that. All right, good answer. Good answer.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
so
Yeah.
after your dual BA college experiment, where did we go?
So I've actually been working in the life sciences industry more or less since an internship, my freshman year of college, where I worked in the communications department of a very small local Rhode Island hospital. And I have been navigating through various marketing, sales, and communications roles ever since.
And just this is like when a kid says like, uh, I know what it is, but why don't you tell everybody what it is? Life sciences, specifically, that also means different things to different people. What does it mean to you?
Yes, absolutely. It sure does. To me, life sciences encapsulates everyone from the patient and their caregivers, their families, their supporters, all the way through to the drug manufacturers that are those that are developing and producing drugs and therapies. So not
Hmm.
only something that you pop in your mouth, but also maybe a medical device or a diagnostic. So a patient's entire treatment team, everyone from when you walk into your doctor's office and you're greeted by office staff or a nurse sitting at the front desk, all the way through to someone who's writing a prescription and the pharmacist that hands it to you.
Wow. See, as a layman, I think is what I'm called. I thought it was like more. I thought it was just everything. I thought it was like if maybe I'm thinking of natural sciences. Is that something? That's what I'm thinking.
Yes,
It's
very different.
very different, right? Like that's animals and stuff. Okay, all right, we cleared that up. So we got back connected because you started a business called Corrado Communications. Was that the first business you tried to start?
More or less, I've run businesses within a business for a few years, which gave me really good experience conceptualizing and strategizing and executing, launching, if you will, both the strategy and the operations of marketing departments, of marketing engines, but they've all been within standalone businesses before. So, Crowder Communications is the first independent business I've started on my own.
And what what in your life made you decide it was the right time for that?
Nothing.
That's the
um,
right answer. That's the right answer.
you know, my okay, so more or less, my story is quite linear. I worked in corporate for a, excuse me, edit, edit, cut.
We don't cut. This is just live, just streams. I mean, nobody listens to it anyway, by the way. Like this is just you and I talking. So anything stays right
Sure
here,
is.
just for
Sure
sure.
feels like it,
For sure.
Jane.
It is right now, it is for sure.
I was saying I worked in corporate for about a decade, right? And I was increasingly just mentally and emotionally exhausted from running on this corporate hamster wheel
Mm-hmm.
of never ending projects. And that's not exclusive to marketing, right? I know a lot of departments feel this way. And you know, I'm a Jersey girl. I'm an Italian Jersey girl, so I've always had the courage to voice which projects I felt were having the most impact and which were maybe not the best use of my time. But I was spending like a disproportionate amount of time working on projects that were just uninspired. And look, the fact is, there are just not enough hours in the day to work on the fun stuff and the not so fun but critical
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And so at my last full time gig, when we hired a consultant to do the fun stuff, I thought, well, hey, there's an idea.
Right.
And that was the time.
So it was. I mean, so there was some timing, right? It sounds like you kind of. It sounds like you started to realize that the things that you were working on didn't excite you anymore, and you can kind of ignore that for a long time, right?
You can, unintentionally. You almost feel like you are obligated to as part of your full time employment. Maybe that's cynical, but I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I think that there's this whole new wave of employees that are passionately pursuing jobs that excite them
Mm-hmm.
and that they feel like they're contributing to something. And I want to ride that wave. I want to lead the ride of that wave.
Yeah, and I guess I don't put a ton of stock into the sky is falling of all the people being laid off and all the people, the quiet quitting, the quiet firing, and the this and the that. It's like I think people just realize that like doing a bunch of stuff that sucks forever is like not a way to live. And it's I mean I mean I think it's also a generational, right? I mean you're when you're younger, you can just grind away and you're making money and you don't really care and you're paying some bills and you're doing your thing. But then like you get older and you start to get a house and a family and things that you need to start planning forward for. Like then those 8 hours a day that you're miserable are like, what the hell am I doing? Like I have enough experience, I have enough stuff to go out and consult, and like, but that does take a big leap. So how long have you been doing this kind of full time?
So last year was my first full calendar year doing it full time. And, I think that what you were saying about this sense of obligation when people were buying houses in areas where they worked and they worked there for 20 years, that was a hard cycle to break.
Yeah.
My grandparents did it, my parents did it, my siblings did it. And so it did take a little bit of chutzpah, we like to say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to go on and do the damn thing.
So, what were some things that held you back from starting it sooner? Because I'm sure when you finally made the leap was not the first time you'd ever considered it.
You know, this probably isn't the answer that you want, but that's what's gonna make it fun.
Yes, you're well. You. By the way, Jessica, I did hire Jessica to be one of my marketing hired guns. So she says lots of things that are not the answer that I want to hear, but are the right answer. So it's not. This is not new by any stretch.
Well, thank you. But what held me back? Honestly, nothing. I leapt so fearlessly, and I think that's a large reason why I've been successful. I had this momentum of I want to do the meaningful, the fun, the rewarding work. And I took some time to understand what it was that I needed to do to help get me there. And 2 months later, I was working as a full time consultant under Corrado Communication.
Wow. Um. So speaking of editing, I'll definitely have to edit my dog out because I can
Do you want
hear
me to?
her. No, no,
Okay.
she's barking. I can hear her. It's fine. Maybe I'll have her on the podcast someday. Um, Interesting. So, uh, but something did hold you back for a while, right? Because you didn't do it until a year ago. So was it just having the stable, you know, job that you didn't want to leave? Was it that you didn't think that you were ready to start it with your experience you had? Like something triggered a change from, 9 to 5 Jessica to, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this. Right. So I'm wondering, maybe there's nothing there, but I feel like, yeah, when I knew you, you were a grinder and you worked really hard and you like, first one there, last one out kind of deal. Um, did that just get to you after a while and you finally said enough's enough?
You are onto something that I suppose I never really realized myself. I didn't truly believe this was an option. For a while, it just felt like a fairy tale. Like, people don't actually do that.
Right.
Pursue their dreams. Like, who does that? You have this cycle of conformity that is just a very steady track. It's a pretty nice track, all things considered. So to dare to step off of that, it didn't feel like a real option for quite some time. And then it was an option, and that was that.
You've never looked back. Um, well, been doing it for a year. Um, it's early to ask you this question, but could you go back to working in a 9 to 5 corporate environment after? And this shouldn't, hurt any of your future employment opportunities. But I'm just curious, do you have the bug enough that you don't feel like you ever want to go back?
I think this is an especially difficult decision for female business owners because there are matters like maternity leave to think about.
That's fair.
And so I do struggle with that. I've already had offers for full time roles. But here's the thing there's unparalleled magic in working with small to medium sized companies who are so hungry for success. You can feel their bellies rumbling in every conversation that they have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I could go back to the grind that is public corporate America. It's quite a debate, and I think it's hard for everyone depending on their particular circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying this new thing where I don't worry too much about the things that are that far ahead of me that I can't control. I try to focus on, first of all, differentiating between the things I can and can't control, and secondly, reverting my attention to the things I have control over.
Well, if you can master that, you're better than I am because I'm trying every day.
We're all
But we're
trying.
all trying, right? I think that's no, that's a good answer. Um, I mean, they're all good answers. There's no right answer, but yeah, it's interesting. The maternity leave thing is interesting. Um, yeah, I'd have a hard time going back. Like, I'd have a really, really, really. I mean, I would be, I think, a shell of myself because even the last role that I had, which was I really enjoyed, like you hit the nail on the head. Um, that hungriness, like that these people have this hunger, like this real, like, you don't feel that anywhere else, but also there's like a it's like when you donate something to somebody who really needs it, or when it's like that feeling of just like you've really delivered something that was real value to somebody and they appreciate it and they realize how valuable you are, and it's like this exchange of just like high caliber talent back and forth, and it's like such an addicting like thing when it works, and you get paid for it, which is crazy. Like, it's like you get paid to be happy. So
How do you
very
like
cool.
that? Yeah.
How do you not like that, right? Like it's something else, man. And I think you're gonna I think you're gonna have a team, and you're gonna be, doing all the things that we've talked about, and even remotely thinking of looking back, will be a thing of the past very soon for you, I think. Who was your first customer?
You see, I had a little bit, maybe I didn't have a little bit of an untraditional start, but I do think that I came onto the scene a little differently than some do. I went with my tail between my legs and pretty relentlessly contacted every person I have ever worked with, you included, and said, hey, I did this thing. I would really love the opportunity to be considered for X, Y, and Z type of projects. I took my time to carefully craft my portfolio that I hope adequately represents my variety of skills. And I asked for the gig. There's Digital marketing has had such an impact on the marketplace where a lot of brands feel it's very complicated to initiate a conversation with your first customer. And often it is, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just asking. Sometimes it's saying, hey, you're at such an exciting phase of growth. Here is how I can help you at this time. And I rinsed and repeated that message to my network. And some people probably did me some favors. Other people, it was just really good timing. And I onboarded my first round of clients. And my gosh, I feel like I've blinked and here I am. So I asked.
You didn't. First of all, you didn't. That wasn't tail between your legs. I don't think that's the right way to look at that. That's a. I mean, you were like primed for this opportunity. Like, like who better to start a business than somebody who's been a marketer their whole life? And you knew the avenues to take, you knew the messages to send, you knew the people to talk to. Like, you're right. That was not an accident. I wouldn't say that it's. I've heard very similar stories, and like Chelsea from Rhino Reviews, like knocked on the doors of people, like, well, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I mean, that's insane, but like, that's so cool. Like, that's the drive of like an entrepreneur. It's the same exact thing that you did. So not, I mean, that should be a very proud story you tell, because I mean, the chutzpah to go out there. Did I say it right? I probably didn't.
You did.
I'm probably gonna get banned from all speaking engagements anywhere near that.
No.
So if I mean, it sounds like you had a plan, you put it together, and you kind of went after it. Which I'll say this: I think B2B is easier than B2C by a million light years. And not to downplay what you did. I'm just saying, because I'm in the same space. It still takes a lot to cut through the noise of B2B, though. And I think you taking that personalized approach is the way to do it. Like everybody likes to pretend like there's this like magic formula that you can put these like things together, and like a business like pops out. Like that's not how it's 100% relationships. It's 1,000% relationships. Unless you make like a thing that you like sell to the masses, like it's about relationships in B2B sales, especially to start in your own business. And like it sounds like that was very you know common sense to you, and I think that was a great start.
Yeah, I think that this concept of brain engine optimization can be applied in so many different areas, and recruiting for business is certainly one of them because there were many people that I reached out to at the time that said, hey, Jessica, congratulations. I wish you the best of luck. I don't have anything right now, but I'll keep you in mind. And that might feel like a soft no, and maybe it is, but perhaps more importantly, you are now in their head. And the next time that you think, hey, I really need a marketing consultant, oh, let me reach out to Jessica. At the end of the day, we're all just thinking, like, do I got a guy? for that. I got a guy for that.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting at the boardroom, you're talking with your colleagues, and you're like, we have this problem. For you to be able to raise your hand and be like, I got a guy, I got this, that's the dream, right? And so if we can all install ourselves as that guy
Mm-hmm.
to our potential customers, I think that's a really good place to start.
And your confidence in what you were delivering, though, is also part of that, right? Like that's, I would assume that's why if I'm a sales guy and I want to go start my own sales business, I would not do it because of the fear of rejection, which is, my God, been my biggest like holdback from all this stuff is like, and I don't even, it's not even people I know. It's like random people. Like, I don't even, it's like, it's just like so powerful that like people I've never met and will probably never see in my life, I'm afraid they're going to say no. Um, but once you kind of get over that, like it all opens up. And I mean, your confidence in your product, which is you, of that experience over the years, I think lend itself very well to not having that barrier, right? Like, you're like, I know I'm good at what I'm doing. I'm just going to see if these people need what I do, right? And a lot of people have the hesitance that they don't even know if what they're doing is good enough to be offering it to people. And I think that confidence is like what hangs people up, and they get stuck in that space where like, I got a thing, I got experience, I want to do it, but nobody's gonna like what I do. It's like you took that leap, which was and it seemed natural for you, which is cool. Which is why I think you're gonna kill it. I think you're gonna continue to grow and be awesome.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, I think that there's a large part of that confidence was taught to me when I was in sales. And my best piece of advice to someone who is a, let's say, a software developer and then begins their own software development consultancy is for them to take an introduction to sales class, learn how to handle objections, learn how to qualify a prospective lead, learn what different motivators people have in deciding whether or not to do business with a particular vendor, learn what questions to ask to hopefully win the business. Those are not always things that come naturally. There are plenty of people that, they're born with a sales gene, but to a lot of people it's taught. And I think that's a worthwhile exercise when you are the face of your business. And to your exact point, you're selling yourself.
I want to do that. I need to do that too. It's funny you say that because I've been selling for years, and I mean, my stuff's been through Upwork, which I feel like kind of softens it. But I think I would benefit from that. I would love to like hear how it's supposed to be done, and I've heard similar things that like sales training is good just to be an entrepreneur in general because it helps you navigate a bunch of um, precarious situations. The first calls are. I mean, I just had one earlier, and I'm like, should have been tighter. Should have asked different questions, and like that part's fun to me now. Do you enjoy the sales process? Do you
Oh,
enjoy? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, of
Oh,
course
I
you do.
love it.
Yes.
I love it. Yes. I think that and I love that I've been doing this for my clients lately too, because here's the thing about being in marketing. When you're in marketing, you think that you know better than the sales team does. And here's the thing about being in sales. When you're in sales, you undoubtedly know better than marketing
Sure.
does.
Sure.
So you've got to learn both. You have to have both tools in your toolkit. And I have been bridging that gap for a couple of my clients who have taken on all of the marketing elements, whether that's branding or lead generation or digital marketing, or what have you. And then I've been coaching them on scoping calls and securing the business and how to qualify, how to ask the right questions, how
Mm-hmm.
to install urgency. And I could see that being a very natural part of a business like mine with someone who's way more qualified to do that, because it is definitely a need for entrepreneurs.
How would you? That's a great point. How would you? So marketing and sales, especially for smaller businesses, a lot of times they're one and the same, right? That you don't, and there's no. How would you tell somebody who just started a business how to categorize the two, right? Like, how would you even begin an approach to tackle marketing and sales? Not obviously not an exhaustive approach, but like, how would you help them identify what bucket starts to go in, right? Because when I started doing, it, I'm just like, it's all kind of the same stuff. Like I don't know, and then you kind of like help me figure it out. But what are those two tracks that people need to start to identify to help them out?
Yeah, that's a really valid question. And in short, my answer is that they overlap and intertwine. So your marketing is, by definition, your pre and your post sales activity. It's everything from attracting, engaging, and obtaining your client, and then thereafter retaining your client. Your sales tactics are more so about once you get them on the call, maybe it's, marketing qualified prospective lead enough to get them to respond to an email, and then you have to pick up the phone and talk to this person. Then what?
Right.
That's sales. So I love to repurpose the marketing work that I do with my clients in a way that's actionable so
Hmm.
that they get off the phone with me and now, yeah, they have a lead generation email template and they have all their personas mapped out and the value propositions respectively, but they also know how to talk to that person on the phone in a way that simplifies their challenge, in a way that empathizes with their status quo, what they're currently doing, what's not motivating them to change, and
Hmm.
then not only convincing them why outsource, but why outsource to JDQA, why
Right.
outsource to you.
Right. It sounds so easy when you say it, but it's not that easy in practice. So you're drinking lots of water. What are three things health wise that you're doing to? And actually, one of my friends, Evan, who was on a podcast recently, was saying he focuses on longevity, and that may be a kind of a. I feel like that's going to be the new buzzword, but like all his exercises and his diet is based around longevity. So that, I guess I'll frame the question that way. What are three healthy habits that you're using to kind of increase your longevity?
Yeah, I love that perspective. Yes, I'm drinking a lot of water. I feel better when I
Yes.
drink a lot of water. My skin feels better. My my body feels better. It's hard to explain. I just feel like being hydrated is just good for your overall mental and physical health.
Hydrated. Love it. I love it.
Yes.
Nobody actually said that yet, which is kind of
No.
crazy. No, no. I mean, I think it's like such a given that like you don't really stop and think about it, and then when you do think about it, you go, "Oh, I haven't drank enough water in the last week." So yes, that's a great
Yeah.
point.
Well, even on a day, sometimes I'll look at the clock and it'll be 1 o'clock, and I'll think, "Wow, I've never transitioned from my coffee to my water,"
Yeah,
and
I've
I
had four
haven't.
coffees and no water, and like
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's not good. Not good.
The other thing that I do, I transitioned to a standing desk about 2 years ago now, and I am surprised at how little it has interfered with my work. I feel like that's a very easy excuse, so to speak. If you're like, oh yeah, I could get a standing desk, but I could never host my meetings, I could never create
Right.
presentations, but I physically I feel better after standing all day long. And then the last thing I do, which I know that you are very familiar with, I take my dog for a long walk every single day. And I take that time to listen to a podcast, my first customer maybe.
Oh, there you go. Just
I
slug it all
listen
day. There you go.
I listen to an audiobook. I call my mom. I call friends that I haven't had the chance to connect with, and we spend at least an hour walking every
Wow.
day. And there's a reason that this has come up to be a little bit trendy as of late is to go on these mental health walks. I would highly recommend. The hardest part is just committing to taking the time to do it every day.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. An hour walk every day. Um, yeah. Wow. Where do you walk? You just walk around all the jug handles in Jersey? That's all. I assume.
Well, I live in town. I live in Red Bank, New Jersey. So I live in the hustling, bustling part of the town. For safety, I never walk the same route every day. I think that's super important, especially as a young woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to let my dog Sachi take us on what we affectionately call a sniffari. That
Oh,
is her time
wow.
to explore, and she knows her route. She picks whether she wants to take left, right, So I let Sachi decide where we
I
go.
can't tell if I love that name or if it's the worst name. No, that's a great a
Try to hate it. I dare you. Try to
sniffari.
hate it. It's the most adorable concept.
I'm
You just
gonna
can't.
I'm
What do
gonna
you hate?
tell my
Yeah.
kids. My kids are gonna. My daughter's gonna say it, and I'm gonna probably fall in love with it. Sniffari. Wow. All right. Maybe it'll grow on me. Um. All right. So, mystery question, which
No.
is kind of funny because like nobody listens to the podcast because everybody would know that the mystery question is the same question. So if you're gonna be on the
It's the
podcast and
same.
you're happening to listen to this right now, next person on the podcast, this is the mystery question. Um, it's a great one. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And it's one that makes you think for a second, so it's okay to take a second. But anything, you know, from personal to physical to social to whatever, if you knew you couldn't fail at it, what would you do?
Define fail financially.
Come
No,
on, marketing lady. You're like, I need 6 bullet points on what the word fail means so I can write an effective email campaign. No, fail that you could not that you can do that you can't not do. I don't know how to say.
so I suppose failure to me currently means not having enough time or attention to devote.
Okay.
And so if I could do something without risk of failure, I would spend just as much time supporting a nonprofit as I do my for profit. I am one of the leading volunteers for Shore Saves Animal Rescue. Quick plug, shoresaves.com.
Yes. All
We
day.
are,
I'll put it in the bio. I'll
thank
give
you.
you.
I hope that you will. Yes, we are a 100% volunteer run, 100% donor funded animal rescue.
Wow.
And man, I love the work that we do because the difference in picking a dog up off of the highway after they've been driven for 16 hours straight from the south of the US and 30 minutes later after giving them a bath and letting them settle in, seeing their personalities come out after, I don't know, sometimes days, sometimes months, sometimes years of being neglected and, not being able to feel safe and feel themselves. That is the most rewarding work I
Wow.
have ever had the pleasure of doing. If I couldn't fail elsewhere and maintain everything necessary in my life, I would spend just as much time working with Shore Saves.
That's like a realistic, great answer. By the way, as somebody who grew up in Virginia, how do you know that dog came from the South? Does he got like an accent, or he doesn't like certain groups of
Most of the
people?
dog,
Like,
yeah,
what's going
most
on with
of,
these Southern dogs?
okay,
Um,
most of the dogs that we rescue come from the South because spaying and neutering dogs isn't as common in the South as it is on the East Coast, on the West Coast.
leave it up to
So,
us, the Southerners, to just let them run, just let them.
I get it. Let a dog be a dog, but that
It's certainly
results
different
in.
down there. I tell you
Yeah,
what.
I understand. No judgment. I understand, and while there aren't always the same decisions that I feel I would have made, that's neither here nor there, right? What we can control
Hmm.
in this scenario is taking the dogs that are being neglected or abused and giving them the care and love and attention that they need and finding them a family that will provide that forever.
That's a
And
great answer. I love that.
thank you. Yeah, I love the work, and I would encourage anyone who's looking for a little bit more fulfillment in their life to just go out and do something that you love for one afternoon a week. Start there.
I like that. Um, uh, I think the whole like you never work a day in your life thing just comes from that. You know, it comes from like the people who like got that. Like most of the things that my parents say, I don't understand. I don't think they understand me, but I think they did get that part of it. that like doing what you want to do and doing something you enjoy. That's what you should be doing. That's what you should be making
Yeah,
money
well, it's a
doing. Doing
luxury.
whatever. Yeah, it is a luxury. That's,
It's a luxury. Not everyone has the opportunity or the privilege to be able to make that a reality, but there are certainly smaller steps that we can educate one another to make. And that's the dream, right? Is to love what you do so much you never work a day in your life. I hope that we can all get there.
we should be like you're a consulting evangelist like I am. Like you're like on the ascent. Like you're gonna be going to the we'll be going to the big mega churches and like talking about consulting. It's a magical thing, and I think anybody with experience in any industry is doing themselves a disservice not to at least explore the idea of selling your services as a consultant, and you're probably got way more to offer than you realize. And it sounds like you realize that though, which is not hard to imagine. So CorradoCommunications.com. Spell that out for everybody. I'll put it in the link and everything. But I'm assuming that somebody goes, "Is that one R or two D's or what?"
Yeah, yes, sure. It's Corrado Communications, COMMUNICATIONS.com.
Wow, I wasn't expecting the communications to be spelled, but that was
You
great.
know, what it's made me realize is that I need a jingle.
You need a jingle and maybe like a tiny URL. Like you need like a CorradoComms.com or something. No,
Okay.
I love it. I love your services. I love you. I think you're great. I think you're gonna have a big impact with whatever you do, and it's cool that you do with animals. We have a dog that will probably be edited out at some point, but I grew up on a farm in Virginia with all sorts of weird animals, and it takes. Those are usually good people. People who care about animals are usually good people. Like I don't know if that's like a scientific fact or not, but it seems pretty accurate. Um,
Sure does.
Except for cat people. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All the cat people. I'm kidding. Yeah, all one of you out there that's listening to me. All right. Well, let's wrap it here. This was great. You were fantastic. Thank you for coming on. I will continue to refer you to everyone. I think you're a fantastic marketing consultant, and I think you run a great business. And I appreciate your time today. All right.
Right back at you. Thank you so much for having me, Jay.
Thank you so much. You're the best, Jessica. See ya.